this is the Saddleback Pod. I am here with Paul Schmidt, UnoDeuce Media.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about, I don't know, you, how we got here.
A little bit about.
Well, let's just go back to kind of like,
Sure.
you know, like,
Sure.
So I guess we probably met in, I'd say, Rio town to some degree.
Yes.
It had to have been close to when you were still in Rio when we were opening, right?
I was. I was there.
Because you were just, 4 doors down at that point. So
Yep.
that's probably where we crossed paths. So if you really want to timeline this back, probably 10 years deep here in some sort of relationship.
Pretty much.
And then we've just always kind of connected ever since. Now that, I think you're in the West, you've relocated a couple of times here.
In fact, we just relocated
Okay,
again.
so where are we at now?
Actually, it's funny because we're just south of Rio Town now.
Okay.
We moved into Child and Family Charities just started to develop a campus on the old McLaren campus.
Okay, yeah, I remember you saying something about this.
And
Yep.
then the Green Lawn, there's a professional building on Green Lawn there, and that's where we moved into.
Okay, so yeah, you're kind of
It's
back
brand new.
into the South
like-
Washington area there, huh?
Just 2 to 3 weeks old. That's it.
And how you liking it?
We like it. We like the space is just perfect for what we wanted to do.
Okay, good.
So yeah.
So back in kind of the hood there. So
Yeah,
back to
it's
the
kind of nice
grassroots.
again.
Well, tell me a little. Obviously, I've worked with you on projects in the past, but tell me a little bit about what you do. Kind of, what for the wonderful listeners out there. Just give me a little bit of a insight in your day to day of what you bring to the greater Lansing area.
Well, it's what my company really focuses on. You could call us a video production company, but it's a little stuffy and a little technical for our terms. We more or less call ourselves a video storytelling agency, because what we really focus on is the story of the organizations that we work with. We work with a lot of nonprofit organizations. That was why I started the business in that regard, is to tell those stories for those organizations that are doing positive things, positive impacts. And so with what we do, we really focus on 3 different areas. And it's that video storytelling piece, which is like creating the short 3 to 5 minute, 2 to 5 minute videos that really have a focus on a certain aspect of what these organizations do. And then we do event-based videography or video production. And so that's like a multi-camera live stream situation or in-person type deal. And then we do podcasting. We didn't do this podcast though. Just so you know. But we help organizations try to develop a podcast voice, and we help them with the technical aspect if they need some technical work. But yeah, those are the areas that we really focus on.
So to rewind it, obviously everybody can't see this, but in our Okemos, so we've had kind of take the podcast world by storm here. And our old studio that we used to use was Risky Studios East Lansing.
Right.
And basically they relocated. They moved down south for job opportunities. And so we were kind of just left on a whim. And it was just in December we found this out. So I do like I do with most things is I Facebook Marketplace. And I put together kind of this thing, where we used to have offices in here. It's just a half of an office now. There's 2 lights. I don't know how these lights work. I don't know if they're good lights. I'm sure they're not supposed to be pointed that way. But everything plugs in. We're literally working off iPhone 16 Pro, by the way.
It's the top of the line.
Yeah, so it's not. This isn't a 13 iPhone over here or anything like that. So we're really kind of just, lack of a better term, jimmy rigging this thing together. Yep. But it was important for us to. The advantages that I thought was we could just do things on the fly. Mm-hmm. So when we want to actually do something, if it's just me talking to the camera, whatever it may be, we have that optionality now where we never really did. There was always that in-between person. The other thing is that, and I guess I didn't do it this time, but when I initially Googled podcast studio, not much came up. So I don't know if I was looking in the wrong places, but there wasn't a ton of these places that were coming. So that was another one that was kind of we need to take it on our own. And then all the content that I would watch about it, it was like you can do as little as you want or as much as you want to put out some sort of podcast. So this is our run at it. What I kind of said was, year one, we were going to try to get to that 12 episode mark, like one a month. And then year two, we were going to kind of, if it proved well, if we were able to get some content out that we liked, we'd go back at it. Coincidentally, at that time, the intent was never to leave Risky Studios by any means, but it was just kind of brought upon, and here we are. So behind you is our catering board. Over here is our printer. So we don't really have any idea what we're doing, the setup or anything like that. This is really the first actual podcast. We just announced coaches last week, and we did a little bit of a live stream from this desk. But other than that, this is all new to us. So,
well, it's all right. It feels like I'm in the thick of the Saddleback realm here. Look at us. Yeah.
No, we do fly by the seat of our pants a lot,
okay.
And we try to take some chances. And I laughed like today. I was messaging Bailey, who kind of sets everything up here, and I was like, well, at least we just we'll get off on the right foot. I mean, Paul's expertise isn't exactly what we've been struggling with in the studio. He's like, this could be a good thing.
Wait a
right?
minute, dude.
Like,
is this a sales call? Is this what
this is our lead generating for UnoDeuce Media.
Perfect.
But I think it does kind of lead into that podcast route, that podcast branch of what your business is, of like, when is a good time for somebody to reach out to you and say like, hey, I'm interested in starting a podcast. What does this involve? Because I do get a lot of that. People like think this is like an incredible feat to get something like that started, and for us, it really hasn't been. But I'd love for you to kind of speak on that and let people know, like, what does it take?
Well, I mean, first of all, at any time to give us a shout to talk through some ideas, but really, when it comes to the podcasting, you really have to, because it's one of those mediums that is not short for the most part. Very rarely will you have like a 5-minute podcast.
Yeah,
it's going to be multiple minute investment. So understanding, first of all, what is your topic? Knowing, because then you can go in being able to know what to describe it as on the podcast platforms, titling it appropriately, just having an idea of what you want to talk about. But not only that, but knowing that you want to go beyond 3 episodes. What is your goal? How long? Because you were just talking about just now, we're looking, our goal is to do at least one a month. That's really a great starting point. And then you said what you said right after that is like, and then we'll just gauge from there how easy or how difficult it is to maybe go beyond that.
Yep.
And that's how I look at I have a podcast that interviews executive directors of nonprofits.
Okay.
It's a 12-episode season, every other week. And so it starts in May, ends about October. And so that's how we do it. And so just knowing that aspect, knowing how you're going, because what essentially a podcast is going to do is gain you followers over time. So you have to be consistent with it. You have to actually, it's like with any type of media that you want to invest in, your YouTube channel, your social media, you have to be consistent on putting content out. And if you're going to do a podcast, you got to be consistent with how you want to monopolize people's time with your podcast. Is it going to be half hour? Is it going to be 45 minutes? So what are you going to use within that time frame to make it the best?
I think it's easy for people to see. I mean, social media is so relevant right now, and there's so many content creators out there and people that are trying to do things that it almost can be discouraging, right? Because you can see those people that maybe have that one-hit wonder type thing, went huge, now they're crazy mainstream, and everything's going. They're with Jake Paul and all these other big content creators out there. But I think content, especially in the podcast world, is a lot like any other thing. It's going to be a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you've got to be focused on what you're trying to achieve, how you're trying to achieve it, and really, you know, just keep getting better day in and day out, and then hopefully maybe somewhere down the road something like that happens to you. But it by no means is it this one-hit wonder style life, and you're going to be somewhere before you even know it.
Right. It's never a one-hit wonder thing at all. You're absolutely right on that. And you know, you just hit the nail on the head. Consistency is key, because you don't start off with a hit right out the bat. You gradually move into it, you know, and it's about finding your voice, really. And yes, there's a ton of voices out there, but there's only one of yours.
Yeah.
And you have a unique perspective, and you have a unique take, and people want to know you, and know more about you if they've heard about you. And you know, people like the story of your journey, and they like to hear about other people's journeys. And so, what is your, you know, so what are you going to talk about? You're going to talk about where things are from your perspective. That's how I've always been told, you know, and I always tell people that I work with, I mean, you know, if you're starting out a podcast, cool. Nobody's expecting it.
Yeah.
So you go in with that mindset. Nobody's expecting this.
Yeah.
So every second you decide to talk into a microphone or look into a camera, you've gone one step further into getting people to expect it at some point.
Yeah, and you know, I think like when we were putting this together, obviously employees would come in and be like, "What are you guys doing in there? Like, what's going on in there?" Because it was just different. We were moving desks out of here and throwing this kind of thing in there. And I was open to say, if you've got an idea for a podcast, I mean, feel free to use the studio. I mean, there's nothing here. Like, just sit down and start talking about it. You know, you can record it and whatever. If you use it, you use it. No harm. You know, nobody's done it, and it's not like it's disappointing to me, but it does seem like there's, you know, a lot of people that probably do have something interesting to offer, and if they can just get past that hump of like, I am going to be out there. It is going to show some of the things that maybe I'm not as confident with or whatever. It could be really great. You know, it could be like the coolest thing in the world. And I always think that we're sitting on some of the best talent. They just got to get out of their own ways.
Yep, that's absolutely true. You know, we are our own worst enemy, and we are our own barrier.
This is kind of a pivot here, but like one of the things I was thinking about when I was kind of driving in here today, I was dabbling in questions that I wanted to ask you or something, you know, just random stuff, and I was like, you've got such an advantage because you are in the audio video world, right? You have all the equipment, you've got the skill set and all these things. Then you can also, you know, having watched some of your previous content where, you know, you're driving home from movies and talking about them. I always love those because you'd always talk at such a high level about kind of the films that, like, I just look at them for entertainment purposes. You know, just like somebody's going to come into a restaurant and I'm just hungry. They're not looking for anything much more than just to fill that void of hunger. Where like we try, and we don't always achieve this, but to fulfill a void of like, man, it's an experience. You're really having something different that's good. So you're in that same world where it's audio. Is there like do you ever get that itch of like a passion project? Like for me, it's like this restaurant that like I don't know if anybody else would like, so it probably wouldn't survive financially, but it'd be really cool if I could do it. Is there ever that thing for you that you're like, man, this is something that I would really love to do? I don't know if I'll ever get to do it just because of the timetable and the cost affected with it, but like something that you've seen that like you would love to do.
Okay. Yes. In fact, you know, I mean, I guess you could say that, you know, oh, I've always wanted to do a documentary, blah, 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 but I want to stay on that movie theme.
Okay.
One of the things I've always wanted to do or create is something that's similar to, well, I don't know if you knew that I spent a couple years out in Seattle. I lived out in Seattle for a little bit, and there was a place that was a movie theater / restaurant. So you could have your drinks and your meal served to you right before a movie started.
Wow.
It was called the Aurora Grill. In fact, they do something also similar in San Francisco called the Alamo Draft House.
Okay.
And so I thought about doing something similar to that, in which you could have like movies that people don't normally see around here. You don't get to see like a foreign film or a independent film or something that doesn't come to the theaters, or maybe even have theme nights or a theme month where you bring in older movies, because I think more and more people are wanting to have more of an experience in that regard. Just have a community, sitting and watching. So having a space that does that, but also offers like, coffee and stuff like that, and then does a Q&A at some points in time, or create a podcast around the movies and stuff. Having this one space that people come to and have that for people who love movies, and just do something along those lines.
I was transparent. I'm not a big film. I don't know what the creative, the artsy side of it really is, but some of that I have heard Quentin Tarantino a few times, and he shares that same thing where he will start talking about a film that nobody's ever heard about and the brilliance of it. And it sounds like you're kind of going down that same path of like, no, you've just got to fall in love with the art side of it if you can understand it. And there are people that share this. There's just no way to do it. Like unless you go find this VHS tape that's somewhere. And
well, what's interesting is like here in this area, Lansing area, we have one of the top-notch film festivals in the world, Capital City Film Festival. And I feel like just that alone brings in a ton of people who enjoy film and enjoy the art of film, and so it's just like one of those things. Like, why do we not continue or have an outlet in that regard for those folks? And so, I mean, and it's just one of those, like you said, passion projects is something I would always like to do and create like a space for those who are a passive movie watcher and wants to see something that they heard about, but they know that they'll never get it. Like when the Oscar nominations or Golden Globe nominations come out and you hear 10 nominees, and you're like, I've never had an opportunity to see one of those. Yeah. Where will I see that? And so, finding that stuff.
And the disappointing part for me is like, going through that Oscar nominee thing is that when I watch these films, it doesn't make sense to me. Like, because again, I'm only watching these to fill the void of entertainment. So none of the other things. So if it doesn't have some of these, I mean, and I'm not saying like I'm the Avengers guy, like the one that just wants to watch, like, but like if it doesn't like necessarily make me laugh, or like I'm not like suspenseful, like it just doesn't do it. Even though I know that somebody spent probably a good part of their life to some degree making this film, and then there's other people that they curated throughout to be a part of this film, and it took all this time and passion to get this thing out, and then here my ass is on the other end just being like, fuck's this winning an award for?
Like, well, but I mean, I think that's a fair assessment though, Matt. I mean, it's like if you go to an art museum, how many of the pieces in an art museum are you going to relate to? Yet it's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's like, okay, it's a painting of flowers, and it's 300 years old. Okay. Somebody really, and my wife, who's an artist, should be like, hey, talks about this painting and how important it was. And I'm like, cool.
Beat me. Yeah.
I'm like, I don't feel like, I mean, I can respect that piece of art makes people move.
Yep.
But I don't understand the process or the passion behind it. And that's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, the same thing with movies and TV and all that other stuff. It's an art form that you either relate to or you don't relate to, and that's okay. I mean, I don't see you sitting around watching Citizen Kane, and so, but that's the thing is like, I've watched it a few times. I like that movie, but I mean, but it's a subjective art.
Yeah. So when it comes to video on your end, and you're is the process kind of in your eye, or is there like an actual way to do it? Like, is there a structured way to do video, or is it more in like no, I trust Paul. He does this kind of thing, or like, is somebody else going to watch a video that you make and say, he did that all wrong. The lighting was all shit, or not that our lighting is shit because our lighting is great.
This is wonderful. The ambiance is getting to me. No, I think that's a good question, because the simple fact is like any other video producer, whatever, is going to approach the same subject from a different perspective. What we really focus on, and I know this might sound like a cop out, I don't care, but what works for us is we really, really do a lot of focus on the story. What is being said? How do we unfold what we need to unfold? Because a lot of the times we're given limits. We're like, we need it to be 2 minutes. We need it to be 5 minutes. And so we record the appropriate things that we need, but what we really pull out of that story from the interviews that we get. We do not, I would say 90% of what we do does not use voiceover. It's all interview driven.
Okay.
And that's purposeful, because we don't want a voice coming in to take the emotion away from what's being said from the person that's has either been affected by this organization or is part of the organization helping to talk about what they do.
Okay.
We don't want that emotion being overshadowed by pulling you away by listening to We really try to focus on the unscripted, on the key moments, because we only have so much time to tell this story.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to make sure that we compact it appropriately with the emotional notes that we're looking for, that we're trying to do, because our goal is for these videos, because not only are we limited by time, we are also told thematically what they want to happen. This is a promotional piece. This is an informational piece. This is a fundraising piece. So therefore, we know from that aspect, where is the emotion just going to be neutral, or is the emotion going to be high impact, either happy or sad, however that's going to really go into that. And so what we really try to do is we come in as listeners first. We don't interject. We don't interrupt any of that. We let people say what they have to say without feeding them anything that's contrary to, we don't try to say, oh, that was great, could you say it like this? Then you're not going to get the same emotion.
Gotcha. Does most people, like, I always say, oh, we should do a video for that, but then I have no idea what I'm actually talking about. Like, I know that there is an element of video that can be used in this situation, but I don't know, like, structurally or even the messaging part of it. I just know it's cool. Like,
right.
It should be. So I think we did this with the brisket video. It's like, you kept what do you want to do with this video? And I was like, I don't know. I just think it should be fun. Like, we should have a video. What should somebody be bringing to the table when it's like an idea? Because they have to have some, I would assume, some sort of say, because you can't read their mind. Like, but there's got to be a little bit give and give, a little bit take, right?
Well, but that's our job to figure that out when we talk to them about the video in and itself. We really ask about, all right, what is this video about? Where is this going to be hosted? Or where are you going to play it or show it or whatever? Who are the players that are involved with this?
Yep.
Then we know, okay, this is going to be client heavy, or this is going to be, or their client heavy, or it's going to be the organization heavy. We really try to talk through, like, what 3 areas do you want to focus on for this particular
Okay.
and then that kind of like narrows the focus, because like I said, we try to be very, very, very focused on the messaging within that, because that's what people will retain.
Okay.
Visually, they'll retain it, um, and you know, and from there, when we ask where's this going to be, then we know approximately how we're going to approach it. If it's going to be social media based, where our editing is going to be different than if it's going to be a video that's for an event that's going to be anywhere between 5 and 8 minutes long.
Okay.
It's different styles, because you have to retain people's attention on social media. Your editing has to be different than if that's the gear. If that's the gear you're going for, it's got to be done differently than if you're like, oh, this is the key piece of this event. People are going to be. This is what we want people to focus on for this.
Okay.
For this part, and so it's just, and then you're able to do a little bit more breathing room and allow the video to unfold in a different way.
So there is some science behind it as far as like preparing it for social versus like a long form type thing of like these are things that we want to get out of it and make sure in this degree that we can make it right.
Yeah, I mean, science may be I know what you mean. Yeah,
Mhm.
I think that absolutely there's some strategy involved when it comes to developing video and what you want it to do, and for instance, if you want your video to be mostly on your website, you can go a little bit longer than social media, but not by much. You just want it to capture the people's presence on the page. You want them to stay on that page for just that long, and
Mhm.
and then and that's the other thing is with email marketing. That's the huge part, because you can draw people in through your email to this page on the website, and you have a video there, and then that's all an encompassing aspect that's really, really successful.
So when you talk about that, is like how far do you guys go into the marketing side of things? Because obviously video is an important role in marketing, but how much do you encompass on that? Are you running platforms for other people, or is it more just nope? Let me do the long or short form content for you, and then I'll give it to XYZ to do, or you do it on your own, or you're free to the world? Because I'm sure on your end you want that video to be a success. You want it to get as much eyeballs and people enjoying it and talking about it as you can. That's right by your customer. That's right by you. Everything's better that way. But do you lose control at some point, or do you keep control the whole way? Or
I mean, we really stick to what we know. And what we know is the development of a video content that you can use in several different ways depending on, where you put it. We talk through the strategy of how to use the video, but we don't develop the platforms ourselves.
okay,
That's out of our wheelhouse. It's not something that we're a team player. We work really well with other marketers and other agencies and other pieces like that, so that we hit all the marks that we need to hit with the video, but our expertise lies within that video content.
no, that makes sense, and I appreciate that, because I think a lot of times when you start going crazy past your wheelhouse, it just starts thinning out, and then we've experienced in Saddleback. You start getting into all these other things,
Right.
like podcasting and shit like that. It takes away from things.
Barbecue and podcasting,
Yeah,
those
just,
go hand in
That
hand.
was in the original business plan. You'd be surprised.
Oh,
It said right there, like
No,
we knew
I will not be surprised.
No, I don't know. I'm bumping these things off you because there are things that
No.
like I've always experienced. If like I don't, we've been fortunate to have always have some sort of marketing wing on our hands. So some of the stuff like I think people think a lot of, but we grind at it.
Right.
Last week when we announced kind of the coaches thing, I mean this was a full forced, like we spent time on this. The team spent a lot of time trying to make sure everything was right, from the written to the video to how we're going to launch it to who we're letting know first, like that kind of thing. And I think it's easy for people to see something that took a lot of time and a lot of planning and just go, yeah, they're just good. They've got a good following. It's like, no, it is a lot of work to grow these types of things, and I think video is a big component of that. I guess to stay in the video side of things, one of the things that I get asked a lot about is it better to have, and I think there's places for both, but I'm interested to hear what you have to say about like more organic, like phone facing type video content versus more refined content. I'm assuming more the content that you're gonna. Do you ever notice? I mean, I'm sure both things have a place, but when somebody comes to you and says, "No, I think I'll get better reaction on this type of thing," what do you have to say about something like that?
Well, I do. I'm
Because you do it too, right?
I do. I do, and I think that there is room for both, but you have to really understand the value of both sides as well. And where that value differentiates is like, when it comes to your website. The website is the most important piece to your footprint. I think even more than the actual storefront for the, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No.
It's like it is your digital home, and how you treat that digital home is how you really, it is like how you would treat if it was your storefront, your physical storefront.
Yep.
It's got to look nice. It's got to have all this quality things to it. So if you populate your website with a bunch of social-based, face videos, I'm not sure that's going to have the same resonance. And if you decided to invest in not just the website but the video content that goes on that website, having the nice tours, having the nice introduction, having the nice, visuals of the food, that's a huge selling point anyway. But having that professional touch on those aspects really amps up that digital footprint immensely, especially. And also, when you send out, like I said, the email marketing aspect in using video within that, because that goes out to the customers, and it just it just shows that you really value that customer's time and attention if you decide to amp up the quality.
Okay.
Now going back to the selfie style video or anything like that, or just doing phone video, that has its place too. But that's a public facing aspect. That's just trying to bring people to your place, and also introducing
to your storefront.
To your storefront, and introducing them to you, and showing that quality as well. I think both of those go hand in hand. And where we as a company really like to land on is the content for the web, content for the email, that type of, I value your patience, I value your attention, I value your you being as a customer type feel, or donor or sponsor or anything like that. That's how we look at it.
I know we both spend space in like the entrepreneur space of like just trying to see how startups kind of get evolved and where they're at in their journeys. When it comes to video, and I like how you kind of make that like first fold like of your web page and the importance of that. Where do you place that video placement as far as like, hey man, I got like $10,000 to start this company up, and like I don't have a ton of revenue coming in just yet. From a video performance standpoint, obviously that's going to help. That's there to assist and get you more revenue. But we got to be mindful of where our spend is and how we're using this. What point in just a kind of average startup do you think it's time to really look at video? Is that like one of the first things you need to get out of your way, or is that like let's get some cash flow going and then let's attack it from that front?
It really your video really should, a professional video, let's go with that.
Okay.
Because you should be doing video all the time. If you have a phone, do video, because it's going to help you establish your voice. It's going to help you establish some consistency. It really is going to help you understand the value and power of what video as a tool is for your overall business. And so you should be starting that right away. Have people follow your journey as you're a startup. What is the next thing that you're going to be doing? What is constantly take photos, constantly, because the simple fact is you really have the time to do it at the same time you're building an infrastructure. But your first aspect is like number one, understanding what your brand is, what your brand story, what is your mission, all that other stuff as a business, developing a website, developing a social presence. Social presence, you start doing the video, selfies and stuff like that. And then when you get to that point of revenue, creating that video that really captures that story in all its glory, and you place that on the website, and then you're just like, oh, and that should be right on your front page, right on your homepage. Who are you?
So the video is obviously important from day one
Mm-hmm.
to start explaining that story. It sounds like, and
Absolutely.
then as you kind of grow, then at some point it's like we really need to reel this in,
Mm-hmm.
zone it, make sure our message is clear
Yep.
and concise, and then now all that content that you've been doing can draw you back to this page to tell your story. Keep doing what you're doing.
Yep.
Let me take care of that message portion of it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's tweak that thing so it.
Yeah, you
works.
bring in a professional company to really ask you the questions you may not have been asked,
Mhm.
or show the things that your phone can't really show very well, or because phones are good and they've been getting better and better.
Yep.
But there's still some limitations to what they do, and
That's a wild one for me because, obviously we're using the iPhone 16 Pro,
Yeah.
which is top
this
tier.
is sponsored by Apple.
Yeah, we get so much free stuff from Apple.
Yeah, like nothing.
But when I go, and I'm just, I'm learning through video of like looking at like what cameras and how far it is insane. Like from a vlogging camera all the way up to, it gets, I don't want to, it's probably not crazy in your world because it's your probably number one tool. But for somebody who's not familiar with it, it gets, I want to say out of control quick. Where, we're talking, hey, let's get an insurance policy for this way more than the vehicle outside because something how bad does that get? Like, is it? It's got to be nuts on the hardware side.
There are a lot of options. I will admit that, and it boils down to, for us, it boils down to what is the tool that we're the most comfortable with that we can get the best out of it at a high quality. And that's where we are.
Is it the same thing with, I've been going down this rabbit hole of like leaving Apple. I know we've said a lot of iPhone stuff, but like getting into the Android side of things.
Yeah.
But I'm so entrenched in that ecosystem of like where, I got the watch, I got the earbuds, I got the MacBook, all these kinds of things that I have attached to this phone. I can't. Is that the same with the video world? Like once you get into Sony, you're kind of stuck, or I don't know all the brands, but like is it the same kind of thing where, man, so and so like Nikon,
Yep.
like they're doing amazing things over here, but we're already in the, all of our lenses fit this one camera. Like is it the same kind of world where once you make that decision, you're kind of.
It can be.
Okay.
In fact, we are almost 100% Panasonic house.
Okay.
So, but the cameras that we use are different depending on like the cameras that we use at events are different than the cameras that we use on regular day-to-day shoots.
Okay.
Because there's a different look and feel, that there's a more emotional feel on the day-to-day video storytelling cameras than there are the event cameras. The event cameras are more broadcast. They're more I don't want to say sterile, but there's just a different feel. There's just a different look, and the expectation is the expectations are set for our both. And but what's cool is, but they're all made by the same company though.
Okay.
And so yeah, it can be like that. All our production gear is Panasonic, and all of our post-production gear is all Apple.
That's wild. So it is kind of the same thing. Like if you decided to move to Sony, that's a big leap.
And we've done that. I mean, we've went from Sony to Canon. We were a Canon for quite a while, and when we shifted to Panasonic, because we had a person who was in a position and he left, and the person that moved into his position was like,
I know to deal with. Yeah.
he made great points. The points were like, if we switch from Canon to Panasonic, it's going to save us hard drive space. And I'm like, oh, how so? Because Canon has proprietary ways of recording that beefs up the file size. I'm like, okay. And he was right. So we sold off our Canon cameras and
Whoa.
and saved us money in the long run.
Do those does like a Panasonic rep show up at your door, and is there trade shows or something like that you attend, or is it just kind of learn and
there's trade shows that you can go to, and but I've used excuse me. Wow. Edit point.
We need a cut here. Do you need water or anything?
No, I think I'm okay. But maybe I do. Got a tickle in my throat.
I just always wonder how much of other people, like for us, it's like if we want to try a new product, we got to go to our rep. The rep will bring it in. We'll discuss it. Then they can even go a step further, go to actually who creates that thing, all the way down the pipeline. And I'm always like, how does this work for other people? Like, does the lighting guy come into you and say, "Hey, these are wonderful lights with umbrellas on them. You should try."
That's a really good question, because I mean, in the video world, I've only dealt with reps early on in my career.
Really?
That's it, and that's because early on you couldn't buy a computer-based video editing system. You had to, or like on the internet or anything like that.
Yep.
You had to have somebody come in because they were $50,000.
Holy shit. Okay.
Nobody's got that kind of cash.
No,
just to be at home.
Yeah.
No, I mean, and so that was really the only time I dealt with a rep, and I don't even think that that's a thing anymore, because of the simple fact that the software has streamlined, the computer equipment is streamlined, and the same thing with lighting and such. I mean, the lighting has really diversified, but the camera systems, it's pretty much the big four: Panasonic, Canon, Sony, and Nikon. But Nikon only does DSLRs.
Okay.
But yeah.
Interesting. Do you think, as far as like the greater land, you didn't think that cough was going to be there, still rolling around in there. One of the things I saw pop up on social the other day was like looking for a content creator or it wasn't content creator, it was like an influencer. And I always think like, what the hell is an actual influencer? I mean, obviously it's like somebody can influence what you buy, but like, are there people out there that at least like somebody like who's not always on social, doesn't see, that's like a great content creator, there's wonderful things with video that is like goes unnoticed that you've seen? Like, and it doesn't have to be somebody you necessarily work with, but like just somebody that's like really doing a great job in that realm.
Like as an influencer?
I don't know. Like, I always think that, like, even like this kind of thing from a podcast standpoint, like, I'm sure there's other Lansing podcasts out there, right? You run yours with, and I just think there's a lot of times it just comes to exposure, and we're just not seeing the right thing. So even if the Saddleback Pod became a really, well-recognized podcast in the Lansing area, it doesn't by any means mean that, like, I'm doing a great job at it, or their studio, like this technical studio. So I just never know if like there's things that are under the radar or things that should be done, things that we haven't explored, things that we haven't talked about, or I mean, because you get these ideas, right? You're the one who's going to be like, somebody's going to come to you and say, I got this idea for a video. And you're going to probably, I don't want to say judge, but you're going to have something in there of saying, it's a really good idea, or that is not going to work, but we'll shoot it anyways. And so you're constantly having all these ideas floated your way. Are there things out there that should be talked about in the Greater Lansing, or are being talked about, or visually need to be there that aren't like this? Like we've talked about the River Trail video. I think we talked about that once at one of those things where it was like, I think that drone video of showing like how you can get on the river trail from all these. I live in Mason, so it'd be like over that way and just follows this e-bike all the way through. Like it's a ride, and I'm sure it connects with other avenues in the greater, like in East Lansing or Okemos, where we could all go on separate routes into and meet at Lansing Shuffle. We could all have like that's a really realistic thing that somebody in Okemos and I'm in Mason, we could just ride our bikes and meet at Lansing Shuffle on a Saturday afternoon, and it's great. But like we don't ever, there's nobody out there telling that story necessarily, and are there those kinds of things?
There are actually. I'll list three. Well, first of all, there's a guy that we both know, and I know he's a good friend of mine. And I think he does a marvelous job on video. He's got a great personality. He knows his audience. He knows his subject matter, and he displays it with a good amount of fun. And that's Chad at Cravings.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he's probably the closest, other than what you guys are doing at Saddleback, most consistent regular business owner that's doing that. And so I got to give him credit there. I mean, Capital Hippie, the same. Laura Capital Hippie. I think she does a wonderful job there. Jackie Crumnow, she used to be with High Caliber.
Yeah.
She's now on her own.
I see her popping up a lot. Yep.
Fascinating. She's just got this great personality, and she does a good job at not just at highlighting other things. I mean, she inserts herself into a position where she's bringing you into a wider world.
Yep.
But she's bringing you into something that's around her.
That's
she's
cool.
Just accentuating that, and I think that's really good. And then finally, I know I said three, but I'm in video, not math. So so yeah. Anyway, but another one, podcasting wise, and I can't remember the name of her podcast right off the hand, but the owner of Dead Time Stories.
Yeah, that gets listens.
Yes,
that gets hits,
and it's because she knows her subject matter.
Yeah,
she knows how to approach it, and she does it in a just does it in an entertaining fashion.
That's so I think this kind of loops back to the beginning thing of the podcast situation. Like when people come to you and say, "Hey, what should your podcast be?" What do you? I'm assuming that comes up in the conversation to some degree of, what's your focus of your podcast? I know you mentioned those time structures and things like that, but this is a good example of something where initially I thought, it was really done kind of for restaurants that didn't have as big of a platform as we did. Not like we have a huge platform, but we have a little bit of one, and it would allow that person to my whole thing was going on some of these food-based platforms is that can sometimes be some negativity, and there just isn't like a ton you can do once it gets to that point. Like it's just kind of an argument. Like you said your piece, person on the other side, and then everything unfolds from there, good, bad, or ugly. But you, like owner or manager, whoever you are, you don't really have a say. You can't really clap back, and you can apologize, but that normally can even go even further on it. So this was designed for really those restaurant people to tell their stories and how much work it has to create this, to build this restaurant, to grow it, to just maintain it. And that there's not this huge thing at the end of the rainbow all the time, and people assume these things. So when you're doing that kind of thing, that I hope it triggers some sort of feel of nope, I listened to Paul on that podcast. That cheeseburger probably wasn't great, but he doesn't deserve this. He he seems like a decent human. That's what it was supposed to do. And then I found out restaurant people, I should have known this, were just hard to gather and hard to get in the same place. So we've only had a couple. Most of it's been business people. So I quickly had to kind of change and go from, restaurant, and not that I wouldn't have a restaurant person. I'd love to have more restaurants on the podcast, to just individuals that I find interesting, that have something to talk about. And so there really isn't like this direction necessarily of like, these are the people that I need to talk about. What would you say to that if somebody else was coming in with kind of like a broad, like, I don't know, I just think it's worth getting somebody on the other side of this thing and talking about stuff?
Well, I mean, it's not really. It really boils down to not necessarily who you have on, but what are you going to talk about?
Yeah.
I mean, the simple fact is, the restaurant industry, the restaurant business itself is a business, because you can talk about the nuts and bolts of a business, and you can talk to, another retail shop about business.
Yep.
And go along those lines. And I think that, I just feel like where it really boils down to is, how are you going to inject your personality into it?
Mm-hmm.
What do you bring? What are you bringing as a host to the table? How are you going to pull out the nuggets from your guest and through the knowledge that you have? Because you're going to be asking questions from the perspective of where you've been.
Yep.
And that's the thing. And that's why it goes back to, people want to hear your voice, because you're going to ask questions that other folks are like, yeah, you know what? What does that person think about that?
Yeah.
And I think that's the whole premise. Anybody, there's 1 billion and one business interview podcasts, but there's only one hosted by Matt.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so it's just, and you have a successful, well-regarded business, and that's what people will be like, oh, and Matt's going to talk to this business about what? And you're going to ask questions that that intrigue you about what this business owner is doing.
Yeah.
And therefore,
well, I think you brought in that point up earlier too, of like when we were talking about kind of like the self-facing cameras and things like that. And I wish I would have done a lot more of that at an earlier stage in the business, and not necessarily like, just kind of be authentic about it. Because sometimes on my end, I'll get, somebody, it all happens to all of us, but like somebody that felt like they were wrongly done by Saddleback Barbecue. And like, I'm always just kind of sitting there in the pocket going, I would never do that to you. Like, I would never meaningly do that. And if you've known me for a long time, like I probably, to my discredit, I should be a little bit more harder on some of these things than I am. And it always just takes me back. I'm like, if you just would have reached out to me, we could have settled this thing out. Like, I would have known far beyond probably your expectation as far as this goes. Like, none of this was, I personally, like, it could have happened in the organization, and for that I apologize, but like, it was never meant like from me wholeheartedly. But like, the things that you're doing now after this has happened, is affecting everybody in our ecosystem. And it's like, what? Come on, like, nobody here's trying to do that. We're sorry. We will make this better. We will better ourselves. Like,
right.
Try to improve our way that we're doing things so that this doesn't happen again. But like, are you really trying to do this right now? Like, are you really trying to cause all these waves and stir things up because of this? And it's just, I don't know. Food's a tough one when it comes to the good old social.
Oh, it's tough. What's interesting to me is, when you brought up the fact that you wish you would have started earlier I'll never forget when I first moved here, I had a conversation with a photographer around here.
Okay.
His name is J.D. Small. And he once said to me, he's just like, have you ever thought about making being on video, talking about your business? And I'm like, no. And what? And I thought about it. I was just like, nobody else is doing that either.
Yeah.
So I started doing that. And I was like, why not? What have I got to lose?
Yep.
And what that was somebody asking to know more about what I did.
Yep.
And that was it. So if he had that question, there must be
somebody else has that question.
And the power of video is interesting because a lot of the times it can't be measured appropriately.
Yeah, yeah.
You can try to see the likes, you can try to see the views, but when multiple people come up and say, "Hey, we saw your video,"
yep,
you're like, "Oh, you
Yeah.
watched that," and that's what it's like. Okay, how many people didn't like this video or didn't share this video but watched it?
yeah.
And so it's just one of those things where that's the ultimate, uh, um, revelation with that. So
Well, I think like had been year and a half, 2 years ago, something like that. I remember at Shuffle, it was for Greater Lansing Visitors Bureau, and you said that exact thing to me. It was something in metric-driven terminology of like, if I go by metrics, I'm never gonna have, I won't have a business because it. And then I think you followed it up with podcast of saying like, just take you for instance. I haven't listened to your podcast yet, but I wanted to ask you about it. So that is what people are talking about, even though we'd only shot like 2 at the time or something like that. And that really resonated with me because it is true. And I now find myself when I'm out in a public situation, I'm only going by what somebody else is talking to me about, whether it's, getting another restaurant, whether it's a special that we just did, whether it's the podcast, whether it's, my hair, whatever the hell it may be. I'm using those because that's what somebody's actually paying attention to that wants to converse it with me. And I found that a lot more valuable than just clicks because that doesn't necessarily show – it shows a relevant scope, something we should be looking at. But it is interesting when I start hearing – once I clicked out of that mode – no pun intended – once I got out of that mode and I went from like looking at just core metrics of how many views or how many likes or how something got seen to what I'm actually hearing from individuals face to face, it did change how I was looking at what's working and what's not. Because those same individuals could see possibly all those other things that maybe did better numbers, but they chose to talk to me about this.
Right.
And that's a totally different thing because that's what we want, right? We want that interaction. We want that interest. Just because they saw it doesn't necessarily mean it resonated with them. So that exact thing that you just said is something that you brought up to me in passing, and it's completely changed the way that I've looked at things moving forward.
Right.
It's pretty cool.
I mean, it's
a good segment right there.
Oh, I know, right? There you go. I mean, seriously, this is all about me. So no, I think that's really it. I mean, when I first was starting to get out into the public and promoting what we were doing and this and that. I mean, this is, 2011, 2012, ancient times. But, when people will be like, how do I make my video go viral? And it's like, how much money you got?
Yeah.
For it to go spontaneously viral is like, finding a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. It is so hard to do. And the ones that do viral regularly have a huge pot of money behind them anyway.
And they're pumping.
Yeah, so it's just like, I mean, I'm glad that attitude has died down a bit, for the simple fact that it's like, you have to also look at viral videos relative to the area you're in. So if a video that pops, up gets, anywhere between 5,000 to 10,000 views, that's pretty viral in this like smaller ecosystem.
100%.
Yeah. So it's just like, there you go.
And what are you trying to accomplish?
Right.
Like you're
exactly.
Like for us, we could get, maybe a like or two in California, but what good is that going to do?
I know.
Like it doesn't do us anything. Like, so even it could be to some detriment if we expanded our market. Like then our dollar spent doesn't go the direction that we want it to. Like even even a market like Detroit or Grand Rapids, if we had a lot of followers in those areas, it wouldn't hurt obviously, but like it could make our spend if we want to pump ads or something like that a little bit more difficult, challenging. So viral is just such a, I hate that buzzword.
I know, it's the worst.
And then you got to be able to create content after that too. Like if it happens and you're there, it's like you can't just be sitting there in your living room like, oh my god, I can't turn this thing off right now. I just it's a weird one for me where it almost seems like people want it, but I don't know if you want it. You got a lot of responsibility after that.
Well, that's the thing is, I mean, 15 minutes of fame is one thing, but what we really look for as a company, as an organization, is to build relationships over time. We want to grow with the same clients we've been with for a while, and that's our mantra. Is like our retention rate is really high, and so we really build this relationship in which we help them grow their story and share it. And that's what's key for us. We really honestly try to be an extension of their team.
That's cool. No, and having done a little bit of work with you in the past, like I can definitely tell by your email marketing campaigns and you personally just reaching out and just saying, hey, is there any projects you got upcoming? We'd love to work with you on it. Like that does go a long ways. Like nobody else, like on the marketing side that we've ever worked with, like has just done that. Of like, and I don't even know if they're like directly from you or if it's an automated one.
Oh, it's me.
But it is sincere, and like that's another thing that on our team I try to say like, hey, just if you send an email to like a past catering customer or something like that, might go a long way. You might be actually solving a problem that they don't know really how to solve. They might have something that, like, don't look at it on the glass is half empty of like, they're probably just going to think it's spam or something. Go, hey, man, maybe we're going to make their day. Maybe they've been stressing about a 20-person event that they've got to host or something like that, and they're like, I don't know who to call, and it just happens that email drops at that time, and you just won. So I think you guys do a great job of that, of keeping in touch with those customers, forever that feedback's worth.
Well, no, that's good feedback, but you are not off. I don't know. It's countless how many times when I send out emails out in a periodic way that I would say about 20 to 30% of the time they'll be like, oh my gosh, you are so fortunate that you emailed us.
Really?
Oh yeah, happens all the time.
Do you think it's just something that's sitting in it's just that reminder chime?
Well, it's just I have a whole system down on how I do this.
Okay.
And
so you're not just pulling names out of a hat, like, what are Matt's up to today?
Nope. If you really pay attention to when I send the emails, you'll see the system at work.
Okay.
And those are personalized. They are not email client driven. It's just that's personal. It's like pops up under my CRM, my makeshift CRM that I have built, and I'm like, okay, it's time to email Matt.
That's cool.
Email Matt.
Huh. The world of the Gmail, huh? I probably don't use Gmail.
I do, but not for that.
No. Well, cool. Paul, is there anything else we want to go over? Anything else you wanted to bring up or talk about? Or
well, I mean, I want to talk a little bit about whenever if this podcast airs before May.
Oh, it'll be. I hope.
Yeah. me too. Well, there's in Lansing area. There's a marketing summit happening on the first Friday in May. Along those lines, and so that's a full day event in which. It'll be happening at Lansing LCC West.
Okay.
Tickets are online at zediamedia.com. That's Amy Zander's social media company that she's spearheading this event. I'm one of the speakers, and in fact, what this event will entail is basically you basically learn from stage 1 to stage 6 a marketing path, from developing your website, developing your brand voice, social media voice, to finally, all right, I'm ready to add professional video to my repertoire.
So who's this intended on
This is
reaching?
intended for
Like a small business owner?
business owners, nonprofit directors, and other marketing agencies. Yeah.
Okay. So you've got somebody in your organization currently that you're like, man, you do our Facebook post. That would be somebody that, like, for that extra education point,
Yep.
like, they should attend that type of thing,
Yep.
take it to the next level, learn a
Taking
little
it to
more.
the next level, or using what's being said there to reinforce what your message is, but also it's really to let business owners and organizations know this is a pathway to really develop your voice and explain your mission and go forward.
Okay. So when did you say it was? First Friday of May. So to calendar that thing.
Actually, it's the second Friday in May. It's
Okay.
like the 7th or 9th or
If you can link that over to us, we can get
Yeah,
that. We can get
absolutely.
that on when we post.
absolutely.
And then, so just to be clear, marketing summit.
Yep,
And it's gonna
Mid Michigan Marketing Summit.
Okay, so there's going to be other speakers on top
Yep.
of yourself, and then it's kind of just showing you the pathway to get from like maybe zero or a little bit of marketing all the way
Yep.
to like expressing kind of who you are, what your core beliefs are,
Yep.
what your business represents, and kind of voice from there.
Absolutely.
Seems pretty useful.
Yeah.
I'm sure. Crazy ticket dollar on that, or is it
Not crazy at all.
okay? All right, and is it an all day event?
It is a full day event.
Okay, and are there going to be like, is it like a trade show kind of thing where there's going to be like
There will
booths
be
and stuff?
vendors. There will be,
Okay.
there's room for sponsors. There will be vendors there that are very business oriented.
Okay,
And so yeah,
cool. Are you just speaking, or are part of organizing?
both. Yeah.
Both. Okay. So it's been a kind of a work up to this thing. Like, it's been
Yeah.
a lot of organizing to get events. Kind of suck. I'm not
They're-
saying they
they
suck
are.
to go to, but
They-
like
they
still
they are they
organized.
can be difficult. But this is the third annual one, and so it's been different each time, and I like the iteration of
Okay.
how it's come, and I like the way they're doing this style where it's basically you get a notebook and you follow each hour is a new section.
Oh, okay. So you're kind of learning.
Everybody's learning at the same
Oh,
at
okay.
the same rate.
Okay. Wonderful. Well, for people listening out there, all 15 of them, where can people find you, Paul?
Always at my website, UnoDeuce.com. That's UNODEUCE.com.
Okay, and I'm assuming there's an awesome video there to welcome you and learn a little bit more about you on your page.
There is. There's actually a few.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for coming out today. I really appreciate it. Paul UnoDeuce Media. If you want to find them, websites there. We'll list that below in the comments, as well as the tickets to what was the
Mid Michigan Marketing Summit.
Marketing Summit. All right. Thanks again, guys. Bye.